Hi, I'm Susan Lucci, and I go red for all women.
There's always a lot of action in New York City, but tonight there's an especially meaningful event. It's the American Heart Association's annual Red Dress Collection fashion show. I'm Hillary Russo, and we're here with Healthy Communities News to talk to some of those attending the festivities.
I'm Shania Twain, and I go red for all the women all around the world.
What's going on here today is the fashion show in honor of Go Red for Women, which is one of the greatest charitable partners that CVS Health has. Beautiful. We believe strongly in the mission, which is around helping women to understand their risk of cardiac disease.
The fact that heart disease is the #1 leading cause of death for women, more than any cancers combined, is kind of mind-blowing to me, and I don't think that enough people are educated and aware.
There's certainly glitz and glamour, but it's all about raising awareness of the #1 killer of women, which can strike at any age.
Our sisters are losing their lives. Tonight, this changes.
Take these women, for example. They're vibrant, energetic, and survivors of heart disease and stroke. Michelle, Monique, Nicole, and Jenny are members of the 2020 class of Real Women, selected by the American Heart Association to tell their stories across the country and hopefully help other women avoid what they've suffered. These Real Women came to New York to attend Go Red kickoff events, including the Red Dress Collection. Even though they were meeting for the first time, their shared history quickly broke the ice.
Well, I was 32 when I had a heart attack, and people would look at me and say, "Are you kidding me? I had just had a baby." The scariest part was hitting the dust on my kitchen floor with my 8-day-old baby, like right there. Didn't know if I was dying or alive, and the EMTs come, and I remember hearing them say they couldn't find a pulse, and I'd always been very trim, pretty active, never smoked. I didn't find out any of the family history of high cholesterol or any of that till I was in the heart cath lab getting 3 stents.
Wow.
Because one of my arteries was 98% blocked with cholesterol at age 32, and I was otherwise healthy, so I just had no idea.
I went to the ER that day that I had my stroke, and the first thing the doctor says was, "We would think she's having a stroke, but she's too young." I was 29 when I had my first stroke, and within 3 months, I had my second one.
Wow.
So here we are. I didn't know my family had a history of strokes. And had I known that migraines and cholesterol, along with my risk with my family history, I think I would have been better prepared. Better prepared, thank you.
The face of heart disease isn't necessarily what we've seen on television. Because women have been left out of the research historically, I think there's been a misperception that this is not a condition that really impacts them.
I was diagnosed with heart failure at 22. I was able to get into a clinical trial, which really helped project my heart function into normal range. This research is important, and I was the only African-American female under the age of 25 in this study. And this drug just changed the trajectory of my life.
I always felt like hypertension wasn't like a major cardiovascular type of issue. Just sitting here, you all have had transplants, a heart attack, and a stroke. And being a part of the American Heart Association Go Red for Women has empowered me a little bit more to be more vocal about it, because it's kind of like the silent killer, and it leads to more major things. I wish there was more of an emphasis on the potential risk for cardiovascular disease while I was pregnant. I didn't know if there was something I was doing to cause my blood pressure to be high. I didn't know how it would impact the development of my daughter. It was just so many unknowns. It was like, oh, well, once you have the baby, everything will go back to normal. And it never went back to normal.
Delivering a child is actually a very prominent stress test. And we know that if our blood vessels are abnormal at that point in time, if we're reacting unusually during pregnancy, that these abnormalities in our blood vessels may become manifest later in life as heart disease.
I went through really bad postpartum depression, and that probably could have contributed to why my blood pressure wasn't going back to normal. Again, nobody was asking me any of these like questions, assessment. And I was in therapy for postpartum, and I actually ended my maternity leave early after working with my therapist, and I went back to work because for me, that was what helped me get back to normal after having my daughter.
Trying to get a grip on your own body and the anxiety and the depression and just the scariness of it happening again with 2 small children, I was a mess. I found a Facebook group of other survivors of the type of heart attack I had. It's a group where we can all talk about what we went through and everybody understands, and the demographics are all very eerily similar to mine.
My life has changed drastically after having the stroke. The scariest part was not knowing if I was going to live for tomorrow. It was when the depression hit. I was at home getting my affairs together because I was trying to figure out how I was going to kill myself. And that lasted for about a year. A lot of people that have strokes go into a depression. That was the scariest thing I've ever been through in my life. And that was when I knew I had to take charge and do something.
Wow, that's powerful. Even with being diagnosed early, it's helped for me to be a long-term advocate for Monique. Like, I'm my best cheerleader.
I can understand that. It was a few times I went to the doctor and I just sat there and I cried because I felt like they weren't listening to me. And it took me changing doctors for me to feel like I was being listened to.
I know my body.
You're the expert on yourself.
I know what I've been through.
It's important that women know their bodies, know their numbers. And if something feels unusual and you have any one of these numbers that are abnormal, that's when you really need to get into your physician and talk to them about your situation.
While nearly 80% of cardiac events can be prevented, most women don't know their personal health numbers. Here are the numbers you should aim for. To help everyone know where they stand, CVS Health offered no-cost, Know Your Numbers heart health screenings during Heart Month at Minute clinics across the country. All year round, it's a preventive care destination where folks can get screened, treated, and monitored for heart health and other chronic diseases. While each of these women has faced incredible health challenges, there are also bright moments to share.
Once I really committed to the nutrition changes, I started seeing changes. I was like, oh, this is working. And it kind of motivated me.
The day that I actually got my transplant, the day that they called me, probably was like one of the most joyful moments. And I was just so excited. I text all my friends. I called them like, today's the day. Today I'm gonna get my new heart. I started talking to the nurse, and she says, my name is Sadie. And I said, Sadie? I said, my mom's name is Sadie. My mom had passed away 6 years before. And I was like, and the other nurse said, my name is Adrian. My brother's name was Adrian. And I'm like, okay, all right. And the guy at the end, who was the anesthesiologist, he was like, I'm Dave. My other brother's name was Dave. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And at that point, I was just ecstatic. And I was like, this is not by chance. I'm supposed to be here. This heart's for me.
I had scheduled this trip to Hawaii to visit my brother who was in the military. I had this goal that I was gonna climb this trail on this mountain. And even though it was 2 years after the stroke, here I am, I had climbed this mountain and I crawled to the top, literally crawled to the top of this mountain. And I was with my brother. Sorry. I was with my brother and I didn't have any words. All I could do was cry. And it was tears of joy because I had made it. Yeah. I had set this goal. I said I was gonna do it and I did it. And that was amazing for me. That was the most exciting part of my journey, was making it to the top of that mountain.
I could have been one of those deaths and I wasn't, and I am very proud and honored to be able to spread my story and my message on a more national level for the American Heart Association. But the red dress collection tonight will be top. It'll be top of my list. I'm just really excited to be here with you girls.
I am Robin Givens, and I go red for every single woman out there. Just to be your best, be strong, be happy, and be the best you can be. Healthy.
This is a lot of fun. You're doing good and having fun at the same time. It doesn't get better than this.
The Go Red for Women movement is a powerful national model of action with a simple message for women and those who love them. Take good care of your heart. The events in New York City are among thousands of actions, big and small, across the country looking to raise awareness of this critical issue. We hope you'll join us again as Healthy Communities News salutes those looking to make a difference in the health of their own communities. Until next time, be well.